All right, George, so we have this shocking plane crash happen yesterday with Yevgeny Prigozhin, and people had called him a dead man walking, and it happened. So everyone's kind of suspecting Putin at this point. That's what everyone says. What can we take away from this at this point in time?
The takeaway is that it is very deadly to be on Vladimir Putin's bad side. Yeah, I mean, since this war started back on February 24th, 2022, more than 39 high-profile Russian members of the oligarch, political dissidents, politicians, journalists, more than 39 Russians have mysteriously died from either poisoning to mysteriously, being, jumping off buildings, being killed, gunned down. I mean, it just the list continues to grow, and it's but no surprise that Prigozhin, in his attempt to conduct this, whatever you call it, an insurrection, a mutiny, a coup d'état, that he would continue to survive, even though there was this deal reportedly made that he would go to Belarus, set up camp there. Many critics are wondering, what on earth was Prigozhin doing in Russia, flying from Moscow reportedly to St. Petersburg? What was he? Was he getting ready to, fulfill a new catering service, a catering order? Remember, this guy was a chef prior to this. He spent time in prison as a criminal. So it's no surprise to those who've been watching what he did over the last few weeks since the June event. And look, when you get on Vladimir Putin's bad side and you are critical of him and you oppose this war that he launched a year ago, be prepared to be killed or to be mysteriously taken out. That's the reality. And look, there's some reporting that perhaps this may have been an onboard device that ended up blowing this jet out of the sky. But whatever it is, it sends a very, very clear message to all Russians. If you go up against this Kremlin, be prepared to lose your life.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be an exaggeration when people are calling Vladimir Putin a murderer. I mean, you look at the scenes that are coming out of Russia right now, and it's like something out of a movie, really, quite honestly. And look, these high-profile leaders like Prigozhin are not the only ones. I mean, there are thousands of people who have had the courage to speak their views against what Russia's doing in Ukraine, and they're facing reprisals as well.
Absolutely. In fact, right before the war started last year, the Kremlin passed a number of laws that would, in essence, make it a crime to discredit the Russian military, make it a crime to speak against the military operation in Ukraine. In fact, to call it a war is a crime. In fact, to pray for peace as opposed to victory is a crime. I'm reminded of just a few months ago, a member of the Russian Orthodox Church, when the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Bishop Kirill, when he asked his clergymen to pray for victory. This was just shortly after Putin decided that he would call up more reservists to enter the war. Bishop Kirill sent a word to all clergy in across Russia that during their Sunday services that they should say a prayer for victory. In fact, one particular priest decided to substitute the word victory for peace. A few days later, he was defrocked and had to escape for his life. Today, he leads an old Russian Orthodox church in Antalya, Turkey. But this is the reality, and it's not just Russian Orthodox priests, evangelical Christians belonging to Pentecostal, Baptist, other streams of the Protestant evangelical movement have faced similar pressure. And today, just a few weeks ago, Amnesty International releasing an exhaustive list. More than 21,000 Russians today have either been detained, have been labeled foreign agents, or have been jailed because of these laws that have been passed, making it a crime to protest, to voice your opposition of this war that the Russians have engaged against Ukraine.
And you talked to one of these Christians in particular, Yuri Sipko, who was charged with one of these crimes. Tell me about that.
Yeah, exactly. On August 8th, members of Russia's FSB, with the equivalent of the US's FBI, they went. They did a raid on his home. The video shows about 3 FSB agents, fully armed, completely with helmet and bulletproof vest, carrying heavy assault weapons, barged into Sitko's home, and they proceeded to videotape various diaries, notes, business cards, various contacts, the Bible, different Christian literature. They've charged him under this law of a crime for discrediting the Russian military operation in Ukraine. Several months ago, he was on being interviewed on a particular YouTube channel, and he made the assessment that what Russia is doing is a crime, that killing thousands of Ukrainians was a crime, destroying their homes was a crime, in essence, forcing millions of Ukrainians to escape from their homeland into Europe and other parts of the world was a crime. And for that, there was an arrest warrant a warrant for his arrest. He managed to be tipped off, and after arriving in an undisclosed location, we had a chance to speak to him, and that interview will air next Friday on CBN News. But in essence, again, this is a high-profile, one of the most high-profile evangelical leaders in Russia, a member of the Baptist Church, was a leader in a number of major evangelical alliances. And I asked him, what kind of a message do you think this sends to the Christian community? And he said, look, they are trying to use me as they have used Navalny, as they have used now Prigozhin, to take a high-profile person and make an example out of him, to say that irrespective of who you are, whatever views you hold, whatever religion you follow, if you go up against the Kremlin, we will come down very hard on you. And in this case, Sitko managed to escape. He was tipped off that the FSB were on the way to his apartment, and he managed to escape. And today is in hiding, and today is a wanted man.
Well, I mean, that tip-off, it's very likely he got away with his life there just by getting out in time. Incredible story. Looking forward to seeing your full interview there. George, any final thoughts on where things go from here?
I think, look, right now, as you look at the battlefield in Ukraine, we are at a stalemate. Clearly, Russia's intent to take over the entire country back on February 24th has not materialized. It is a slog. It will continue to be a slog, especially in the eastern part of the country. The Ukrainians are attempting to launch multiple counteroffensives. It's a street by street, village by village, town by town operation. The Ukrainians obviously are in it for the long haul, and I think bloody days are ahead. And Moscow realizes that they clearly underestimated their enemy, and this will continue for the unforeseeable future. And in the process, on both sides, people will continue to lose their lives, and it's going to be a hard slog going forward.
All right, CBN's George Thomas, thanks so much for breaking this one down for it. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thanks.